Sue, will you do roll call?
Davidson,
Present.
Vice President Ricketts, Secretary Martucci, present. Treasurer Hunsaker,
Present.
Director Bardell,
Present.
Director Gundry,
Present.
Director Hector,
I'm here.
Director Ryan,
Present.
Director Shaw. We have a quorum, you may present.
Thank you, and I'll call the meeting to order. It's 9:32. For those of you who didn't hear, Mr. Ricketts is present on the phone. I'd like you to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will those who are on the line, except for Mr. Ricketts, please mute your calls? Before we get started with the meeting today, an individual who is considered really a member of this family, lost his sister earlier this week. And I would ask that we take a moment of silence for thoughts and prayers to Matt Vermouth and his entire family, for his comfort and sympathy in the loss of his sister. Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the May 6, 2022 Federation Board of Directors meeting minutes, which is included in your packet. I have a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Thank you, Tom. I will turn the meeting over, and I'm going to do it to Keith first from First Service, because Keith has an announcement and an introduction to make.
Thank you for reminding me this time.
Well, you are getting older.
You'll be living here soon.
Working on my introductory skills, for sure. To my immediate left, I wanted just to introduce and welcome Steve Knott. He's the new general manager hired for First Service to take the seat. He started midweek this week, met the Federation board, and we are obviously easing in together. I'll be here for the next couple of weeks as we train and get them up to speed. So there'll be some communications coming out about Steve's email and information, a little bit of background I could hold on. So keep a lookout for that. But we wanted to welcome. Steve comes with many years of experience in HOA and condo management, especially in the club environment. So he has a lot of great skill sets that we were looking for, and we're happy to have him on the team. And look forward to having him work with everybody here and the Federation board. I'm going to then jump into...
Welcome, Steve.
I'm going to jump into the First Service Management Report for the month of May. Just again, a quick note, as always, all the current board members sitting in the seats for the Federation are owners of their condominium parcels and are up to date on their condominium fees. A couple stats for the month of May for the office. There was 82 transfers, so we had a very large uptick in the sales for the month. It's always a good sign. Leases, there was 28 total leases. We had about 3,500 phone calls taken, 620 pest control appointments established. We had about 1,260 walk-ins to the office, and we did 52 one-on-one orientations for new homeowners. We updated about 16 emergency contact forms. We issued 24 violations. We had 77 alteration requests by the homeowners, processed 155 invoices through Avid, and drove 9 new contracts. Again, as we get through the summer months with maybe some roof projects and painting projects, please make sure you're reaching out to your CAMs and touching base about those contracts. Again, it's a very good protection for your association, just to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed with those contracts with any kind of vendor. Insurance policies, all the insurance policies have been received back from USI and Heritage and the other carriers. USI does a big deep dive in making sure the policies are up to date. We are in the process of loading those into everybody's Connect system for their individual association. So you'll have your specific individual policies as well as all the bulk policies for insurance. In addition, we sent out all the loss assessment figure updates to all the boards this past week. And if there are any questions, there have been several questions on that, please reach out to myself or Brian Burns with USI. We'd be happy to help clarify any of that information to the homeowners or to the board of directors. Pest control still remains inside the 3-day window. Trash collections. We still have several bins left on my second ward. They brought another couple dozen of them out here last week when I was gone, and wasn't able to sort them out everywhere, but there are still several left to come through. So I have a couple associations that have sent me emails. You're on my list to get those out there and placed at your dumpsters. Quickly again, June 1st marked the start of the hurricane season. It's already a little bit active out there, so make sure everybody is staying up to date and prepared for the hurricane season if you're staying or if you're heading back up north. The Spectrum TV contract, we have received an updated proposal contract from Spectrum, which is now in the hands of the Contracts Committee for their review. As Jack mentioned at the last meeting, there are some increased speeds and lower costs coming, so that there will be a reduction in rates coming through next year. So that is a good positive sign during these times. Landscape workshop, it was postponed last week, so we're going to work to reschedule that. Again, I was out and was unable to present that. The landscape grading meeting will occur at the end of June 29th, and June marks a 5-week grading month. So there'll be intense gradings this month, especially with the amount of rain that's coming through. Palm and oak tree trimming, we are still in the annual pruning for Brown's Tree Service. They are wrapping up section 3 early next week. I think they're right inside Lancaster 1 today. And we'll be proceeding through sections 2 and 1, and they'll wrap up at the end of June with those sections. Mulch, we do have some new mulch figures coming to the board and to the association, so we'll be going through that mulch package, the pricing, and work out some good solutions there on how we'll do the bulk mulch coming up in the fall or spring. Work orders for the month of May for landscaping were 57. Glad to see the work order system being utilized more and more. Most of those coming with some pruning requests, some edging, cleaning, and just general landscaping requests. And again, after hours emergencies, we've had a new system put in place to help filter out some of the emergency calls. So if you call our main office number again after hours, it will redirect you or give you prompts to be able to select if it's an irrigation emergency, if it's possibly a KPW appliance warranty issue, or anything else, reach me. It still works in line, so have anybody call anyways. If you get stuck, a lady last night called about a water heater thing. We talked through it and worked through it, so don't hesitate to call those numbers or call us and we'll try to work through it together. That, I believe, is all I have for my report.
Let me ask you one question, and it's related to the fertilization of the palm trees.
Yes.
how are they supposed to be fertilizing them? Because a number of comments, emails have come in that they basically are just taking a cup of fertilizer and spreading it at the base of a palm tree. Is that the way it is supposed to be done, or how are they supposed to be fertilizing those palm trees?
Well, Joey is back monitoring them, and they've completed sections 4 and 3, so they'll be in section 2 today and next week. But they are doing it properly. They are creating a ring around the palm trees. We have loads of pictures on
Just the base of the palm tree, or?
Oh, it's under the base and the canopy, depending on how large it is.
I will tell you that they are not doing anything but the very base of the palm tree. They are not going out to the canopy of the palm. And would you please have Joey speak to them, because you said they've completed sections 4 and 3? And if they have completed section 4 and 3, I observe them as other residents have, just taking a cup and putting the fertilization at the base of the tree. And if that's the way they did 4 and 3, they're gonna have to go back and redo.
We'll check with them, yeah, but if you guys get those, let us know as you get those, because we've only had a couple emails on the issue, and we've actually gone out and photographed and watched them, so.
And I do believe other board members have seen the exact same thing when it comes to the fertilization of the palm trees. With that, does anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I had a question. Just to clarify, Keith, what you said about the emergency line. So currently, if anyone has an emergency of any kind other than a 911, they could call the first service emergency number, then will they be able to transfer the number? Like I see the master's number for irrigation.
Yeah, so they get prompted, so it says press 1 for any irrigation-related emergencies, and they get transferred to the.
Or they could call direct to the number that you.
Right, it's just that if they happen to get us, it's just they'll filter them out. Same thing with KPW, because we get a couple of those.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Keith? Thank you, Keith, and I'll turn the meeting over to Ginger. I do have to tell why I made that comment is, I started this because I could not remember Mildred's name, and I would speak to Keith and I go, the woman up at the front desk, I don't remember her name, something like Matilda. Well, she has now become known as Matilda to a lot of us. She gets a kick out of it, and the office staff started calling Keith Kevin. We started calling Steve Scott, and someone said, well, what about Ginger? Doesn't she have a nickname? So she said, I called her earlier Jennifer, and I have no idea. So now she's going to be known to some of us as Jennifer. So.
You just make stuff up. Good morning, everybody. On the administrative side, the trust audit continues. The auditors have requested information. Everything they need at this point in their process has been delivered, and we await further instructions from the firm. Obligatorily, they have to provide that audit back to the board by July 30th. I won't read all the rec usage numbers. Suffice it to say, May begins a decline in usage. You'll start seeing those ramp down, and then we watch them go back up again in the fall. On the projects, we have a couple remaining from 2021-22 projects. The tram, where we've been in continued contact with the manufacturer. We've received no changes in the estimated delivery date, which is still slated for the end of this year. Now, on this doggone South Club 25-ton HVAC unit, it is a crazy world out there. So if you recall, we ordered the first unit, it came in damaged. The second unit was ordered, and as we've been waiting that unit to come over to U.S. soil, amongst that, we were informed by the train manufacturer that the U.S. government and EPA department has changed their energy efficient requirements for commercial HVAC units. So the unit that was coming didn't match the new energy efficient and SEER requirements. I don't know enough about it to go into detail, nor would you want me to, but suffice it to say, again, it's changed and a new unit had to be ordered. So the estimated arrival date from the manufacturer is now later in the summer. The good news is, the unit that is in place now is operational. This is a unit that is sometimes has downtime, so we have to put repair and maintenance money into it. It was also scheduled in the reserve for replacement, but nothing's out right now. It's coming, hopefully, fingers crossed, that we don't have to order a third or a fourth unit at this point. On the 22-23 project, I'm sorry, Victoria also asked that I relate that she is looking into a different brand to see if we can get something in that is comparable. Train's a very good, reliable unit, but also weigh that out with timing and cost, et cetera. So we'll be doing some other comparisons there, and we'll provide that information to the board. On the South Club Pool Deck Expansion Project, again, you've heard us talk about how long it's taken Hillsborough County to provide the permit for this. We did apply for this in November. Here we are sitting in June. It's been told to us it was delayed just because we were changing the usage of those cabanas from, you know, the laundry room type of facility to something that will be serving alcohol and food, and there's a lot of steps to go through in that permitting process. There is a little bit of progress, though. We have applied for a site visit inspection for the final stage of approval with the county, and we're waiting for them to provide the appointment date. So fingers crossed that will happen and we can move forward. In the meantime, phase 1.5 has been completed with the RFP. The RFP process has been completed, and we're currently vetting the bids that we've received. That phase will include the concrete in front of the future bar area and around the palms, fencing and shade structure, pole removal, the conduit for lighting, and the gates and landscaping that will be reinstalled. None of those require permitting. On the future phase 2, the RFP process has begun for that phase, which will include the shade structures and the pool resurfacing and the new furniture. The pool resurfacing will require an estimated 4-week closure. It is, I think, about a decade old. Those of you who are regular users see there's a lot of the surface inside that's chipped, and it's just needs to be taken care of. We estimate that in the month of August. Specific dates will be provided once the vendor has been selected and vetted. That also does not require permitting. And then the final phase will be a sound system for the entertainment area that is being looked at by an ad hoc committee for the RFPC. The committee has met, they've got their preliminary direction, and they've contacted, I believe, several audiovisual vendors to provide some feedback on that. Also, at the South Club, we've got the Palm Court tile replacement project. It includes the demo and removal of the existing flooring and installation of new flooring to match the tile that had been renovated previously in the Palm Court Cafe. During this project, the bar will be closed, and however, the loft bar upstairs will be open, as well as an outdoor bar, so residents can continue to use the South Club for their libations. The theater stage resurfacing commences in June, and the theater be closed later this month for that project. And finally, in the main clubhouse, the renovation project. It's a very large project underway. They're demoing the concrete, the tile out of the back hallway, the northeast hallway, and the wood shop. And the concrete floor prep has been completed. They're working on some pillar texturing and painting of the project, and we will begin the moisture barrier and tile installation once that painting has been completed. Hopefully everybody has been able to get around where they need to do their activities. Hopefully the team is putting up ample signage in those areas. On special events, I won't read through all of these, just mark a couple of these. Summer Series ticket sales are underway, and we are in the process of finalizing and booking the upcoming Winter Series. In COVID news, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid has authorized 8 free COVID-19 test kits for every patient who has Medicare benefits, and that will be available every 30 days. In lieu of this news, we have partnered with Delivered RX Pharmacy to make receiving your free test kits quicker and easier, and the pickup dates will be June 4th and 7th. We've also received several inquiries on whether we can add another booster event, and pleased to announce that the Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J boosters were offered on May 31st, and then they'll be coming up, it was actually yesterday when this report was written, and also today, Friday, June 3rd. Delivered RX has committed to continuing testing, boosters, and flu shots in the Kings Point community for the foreseeable future based on resident demand. Also pleased to announce that Physicians Stat Labs has partnered with Kings Point beginning Monday, and every Monday thereafter, residents can get on-site lab testing performed without leaving the comfort of your community. All you need is your laboratory slip or order form from your physician and your insurance information. And you can contact Colleen Williams. I won't read this number, but it will be made available to you for any further questions. And then finally, beginning on Thursday, June 16th, you can have your podiatry services performed by Dr. Shanna Williams. The initial signups for podiatry services actually fill up very quickly. So that indicates the community's desire for these types of convenient services, but stay tuned for additional dates.
Ginger? I'm sorry, can I interrupt you? Can I ask you a quick question about those, the labs and the podiatry and all that stuff? Are they gonna have a separate room in here? Is it gonna be? Room in the clubhouse, perfect, thank you.
Finally, on security, we had a concerned resident who informed the staff that men were walking down the street with flashlights. Looked a little sketchy, so when security arrived at the location, they were actually workers out there prepping for the early morning street striping to help alleviate traffic backups. But
Can you say that real fast 3 times? Street striping?
it was and I always say you're the eyes and ears out there, so that's helpful to give a call in there if something just looks off. And then at 3 a.m. One day, a resident called the front gate reporting a car alarm and loud noises coming from a neighbor's home. When security, wasn't you? Nope. When security arrived at the location, a man was trying unsuccessfully to start his car. Security asked the man to go inside as the noise complaints had been received in the neighborhood and people were sleeping. Man said, okay, fine, I'll go inside. The officer drove down the street a ways and then returned to observe the man again outside driving his car back and forth in his driveway. When the garage door was struck, and then the man got mad and began throwing things out of the car and at his car. It was then decided by the officer it was time to call HCSO. Police officers arrived, sheriff's officers arrived to observe from a distance, or they advised security, observe from a distance until they can arrive, and 3 vehicles did arrive to defuse the situation between the man and his car.
You cannot make this stuff up.
My report.
We will, any questions for Vesta? Then we will move to committee reports. Anything, Vicki? Ray? Dan? Can you use a mic?
The Contracts Committee is, as Kevin told us, reviewing the Veteran Services contract. We are in the process of beginning an RFP for the Management Services contract. We will, in the not too distant future, begin reviewing the Pest Control contract, and after that, there will be discussion on the mulch contract and what we're gonna do about that and how we're gonna handle it. And that keeps us pretty busy for now.
For a while, it gives you something to do over the summer.
Through the summer and well into the fall, and we'll be starting to look at Vesta's budget over the summer as well, so stay tuned.
Beginning of fall. Shirley, anything?
I would just.
Hello?
I was just gonna say, that he has put so much time into all these contracts and, I'm going to, I offered to help, so I'll be working with him on contracts so that by September, he is still standing. I really don't have anything specifically because Vesta has done such a good job with the COVID vaccines and the different boosters, so nothing from the safety committee or health committee.
Sue, do you have anything? No. Ray, I know that you gave during the membership meeting your year-end treasurer's report. I would assume it still stands, and it's good seeing the board was here when you gave it. You don't need to give it again unless you want to.
That's correct. I do know.
Jim?
We're still working on the revised website. Hopefully everything will be up and running by the end of June. That's my target date right now. And as you know, all the rest of the board has got access to that for their suggestions.
I would just, first of all, it's great to see so many people here. I wish it wouldn't take an issue that is being proposed by the Rules and Regs Association, the RFPC and the Land Trust to bring so many residents to a board meeting. Generally, this room is almost empty, and it's nice to see so many of you in attendance, and we really appreciate the time that you spent to come. Remember, this is not and I just want to, before we get into new business, this is not a Federation board proposal. This is a proposal that is being made to the Federation board for the Federation's board's consideration and approval or disapproval. It is made by a group that is comprised of the Rules and Regs Association that is responsible for establishing the rules for all amenities. It is also recommended or being presented by the RFEC, who is the Recreational Facilities and Executive Committee that basically works to put together the budget, provide its recommendations to the board for the board approval. It is represented by 5 separate residents from the community by region, and it is also being presented by Vesta, who is the property management company of the amenities, and per the loan trust agreement, is responsible for the day-to-day operations. The Federation has oversight of Vesta, but is prohibited by the trust agreement and the loan agreement from being involved in the day-to-day operations of Vesta. So this is something which is being presented to the board. When the board was made aware that this was being presented, we felt it was only fair, and we contacted Matt and Ginger both and asked that at least, could we have some attention over here, please? We asked that the notice be sent out so the residents would be made aware that the board would be considering this proposal at this meeting. It was for informational purposes only. We didn't think it was appropriate for the board to get this proposal and have it addressed solely by the board without letting the residents know what was being presented to the board for their approval. It is not, and Ginger reminded me of this, it is not normal procedures when the RFPC or vested in their normal course of doing operation sends out notices that they're going to ask for specific approval on items such as repairing the elevator in the 2020 building and the expenses. So this was done, it's outside of the norm, but it was done for the best interest of the community, so the community would have some advance notice and could provide some input to the board. The input has been received by Matt, who has shared it with members of the board, and it's also been received by residents. So when we get to that subject, remember that the board will discuss it. We will open it to the floor. I know there's almost 30 people that have signed up to speak, and you'll be given that opportunity to voice your opinion when the board is discussing that particular proposal. With that, the first item on the agenda is the appointment of a Region 1 representative to the RFEC to fill the vacant position that became vacant when Vicki Ryan was appointed to the board, because a board member is not allowed to serve on the RFEC and the board at the same time. So I will turn it over to the chairman of the Standing Elections Committee for their recommendation and their, I assume, motion that you want to make on it.
Good morning. As no unit owner within Region 1 submitted a letter of intent to serve on the RFEC to fill the unexpired term of Vicki Ryan, the Standing Election Committee unanimously recommends Alan Hahn to serve on the RFEC for balance of the term vacated by Vicki Ryan. Therefore, I move that the Board of Directors appoint Alan Hahn to fill the vacancy in Region 1 of the RFEC, effective this day until April 2024, in accordance with the procedures outlined for filling the position or vacancy on the RFEC. That's my motion.
Do you have a second? Any discussion? So, just
I think this is a well-timed appointment. Alan has served as treasurer and been involved with the RFEC for a number of years. He has interest in doing what's best for Kings Point through the RFEC, and I believe that he will be an effective member and a good advocate for Kings Point.
Any other comment? I would just like to say that, you know, I want to echo what Dan said. I believe Alan's served working on the budget with the RFEC for 4 years when he was treasurer of the board. He is very familiar with that, and I know we're going to face challenges this coming year. In putting together the budget, Alan has the background and experience and can help the other board members. Basically, we have board members that basically have served for 1 year of their 2-year term, and then we have another board member who is in his first year of that term. So the more experience we can get on it, the better off we are. Any other comments? Then I would ask Sue to take roll for a vote.
President Davidson.
Yes.
Vice President Ricketts,
Tom? Okay, thank you.
Secretary Martucci, yes. Director Bardell,
Yes.
Treasurer Linsaker,
Yes.
Director Gundry,
Yes.
Director Ryan,
Yes.
Director Shaw,
Yes.
and Director Hector.
Yes.
Do you think we have another board member? Then I assume the motion passed unanimously.
Yes, the motion passed. Passed unanimously.
I would ask Ray that you notify Alan Hahn of his appointment by the board
Will do.
for Region 1. That takes us to the second item on our agenda, which is the presentation for the proposed changes to the monthly pass. Is Dave Popovich here? You want to do your thing, Dave?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. This is an executive summary. I suppose everybody has a copy of the board. Okay. This is the executive summary of the work that the ad hoc committee for fees put together. Ginger had a large contribution to this, and there were several members, although you'll notice in this package that this committee was officially formed at the beginning of May. This work has been ongoing since about the first of the year or so on an informal basis, and represents the contribution of a lot of different people. So I'll just read into the record for the proposal. The Kings Point Center West Land Trust Recreational Facilities offers a comprehensive package of amenities that are available to all unit owners of the Kings Point and to their guests. The developer originally established guest fees, as a way of offsetting the impact that the additional usage had on the maintenance of the facilities. Maintenance supported by fees that are being paid by the unit owners. Now, the recreational facilities are owned by the unit owners through the trust, and the fees of the non-resident usage continue to be collected and are used to offset costs of the amenity operations. Non-resident usage has been reviewed and increased. I would change this sentence a little bit. Non-resident usage fees has been reviewed and increased over time, most recently in 2015. It's been 7 years since this task has been undertaken. In early May of 2022, the Rules and Regs Association, the Ad Hoc Committee of the RFEC, and VESTA met to review all resident usage with the consideration that substantial usage of the facilities and the corresponding impact upon maintenance and related costs of the facilities and its correlation to badge and pass sales. Based on the review of the current fee structure, it is the assessment of the Rules and Regs Association, the Ad Hoc Committee of the RFEC, VESTA Management, and that the value of the Kings Point Trust amenity package that is available to guests far outweighs the fees charged for usage, and it needs to be adjusted to be equitable to the fees paid by the unit owners. Currently, KP residents through their monthly assessment pay approximately $5 a day for the trust operations, and guests 18 years and older pay only $2.50 a day for the guest pass. That gives them, by the way, full access to the amenities of Kings Point. In addition, non-resident participation in the Kings Point clubs has been previously at no charge for the usage of these amenities. We have approximately 18,000 guest users per year and 1,300 plus non-KP resident club participants using the facilities annually. In each instance, the impact on the facilities is subsidized by the unit owners of Kings Point through their monthly assessment. It is estimated that these fee increases, based upon current usage, would offset the unit owner's current annual fee by a range of $1 to $1.50 per unit owner per month. Therefore, it is our recommendation to the Federation Board is for consideration to, number one, reasonably change the guest age and fee, and number two, create a new policy for non-Kings Point resident club participants to offset the cost of their usage. The plan is to have a new process in place and operational by July 1st of 2022. If approved, the communication plan will accompany the changes so that Kings Point unit owners and club representatives are informed. The proposed fee and policy changes are as follows. For the daily guest pass, a new fee of $5 a day, and a new age to require a pass of 16 years and older. Of note, all passes and badges are for those 16 years and older. Users under 16 do not require passes, but must be always accompanied by a resident when using the facilities. This is in line with current policies. Non-resident Kings Point participant pass options. 6-month fee per club user is at $50. 12-month fee per club user is at $75. A daily pass, if the non-resident club member opts out of the above, will be at $5 a day. Note, all participants will be monitored by their respective clubs, and fees will be collected by club membership and turned into the business office. That's my proposal.
Do I have a motion on the board, from the board to approve these fees or to reject these fees?
Whoa, wait a minute. Isn't that what we're here to talk about?
You can't discuss it until a motion is on the floor, sir.
You're voting?
No, I asked for a motion, sir.
Go ahead.
You're voting to discuss the motion.
Yeah, I would like to separate part of what we're voting on the fees for 18-year-olds dropping to 16. I would like to propose that we do not make that change.
But we don't have a motion to change it, so can we get a motion on whether to
I make a motion to,
approve the recommendation?
approve the recommendation, yeah.
And second by Ray Hunsaker. Now we will open it for discussion, and Ray, you want to make a motion to separate,
Yes.
make an amendment?
That's correct.
So you're making a motion to separate?
Only the aspect of the 18-year-olds dropping to 16, yes.
Is there a second to Ray's motion?
I have a question, excuse me. Is there a possibility to have discussion on the original motion before we entertain the second
He is
motion?
asking that the original motion be amended, and it is under Robert's Rules of Order, his right to ask for an amendment,
And then the discussion happens after
and
that?
then the discussion would happen after that. Hearing no second to your motion, Ray, your motion is rejected. And we will open it then for discussion of the board on the original motion to accept the proposal. Before we open it up to the audience, I will give the board an opportunity to provide their input on the motion on the floor.
I have several questions. First one, as we work through, is how did we get to the date of July 1st, 22, with the split in place? Can someone enlighten me as to where that date came from?
So since the club fees are to begin, club fees for 6-month access is to begin July 1st, that would cover the end of the year.
Okay. How did we get to the number 16 as opposed to 12 or 14? If you go to the movies, 12-year-olds are considered adults. So can you tell me how you got to 16 years old as opposed to leaving it 18 or making it 12 or 14?
Well, it's a point of discussion, you know, the 16-year-olds, let's say most of 16-year-olds are responsible people.
I'm just going to say, I'm 71, I'm not responsible.
And so, it was sort of a, you know, based on physical size and amount that they would be using the facilities. Plus, they were considered to be somewhat responsible in that aspect, so we decided it was a good thing to change it to 16.
Dan, I would only add to what Dave's comment is that a 16-year-old is allowed to drive in the state of Florida. Therefore, they have a license by rights. You must be 16-year-old really to drive a golf cart in the community. So it's consistent with what goes on with driving vehicles and where you are considered responsible enough to be responsible enough to drive an automobile vehicle. In a golf cart, it shows that you basically have, or should be mature enough to be considered an adult.
Does that then mean, my understanding of the policies when a guest comes in, they have to be with the homeowner? Are you saying now that a 16-year-old doesn't have to go to the amenities with the homeowner?
That's right.
Okay, say that again.
Let me just correct Dave there, nothing else changed in the thought of what we were doing there. They have to have a pass from 16 or 17, but none of the other rules of the community changed.
Again, does that mean that your guest doesn't have to be with the homeowner to go to the amenity?
At 18 and older, they do not need to be attended to with the unit owner.
And we're going to change that to 16.
No,
So 16-year-olds still have to be
they
with
just have to have a pass, yeah.
but they have to get the pass.
We were asked a number of questions about changes, hot tub, billiards, nothing else about the rules of the community were to change.
Okay. Has there been any discussion or decision on the form that these passes are going to look like? What they are currently, as I understand it, is a wristband. Are there other, I think I saw other passes.
It's just the normal, we don't have wristbands, it's the normal pass. Normal club pass.
So it's just a normal square, stick it on your shoulder kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Will homeowners be able to purchase those in bulk and put them at their house? Right now, if you go to the pool, you gotta have cash or you gotta go through a bunch of gyrations to pay for the pass. If your guests come, you gotta go to the business office to get the pass or whatever. Can residents or will residents be able to purchase 10 passes for their house so they don't have to be inconvenienced by all of that in the future?
only thing that's changing is the proposed price of the guest pass. That's what,
Can we
and
look
the
at,
club pass is a separate transaction.
okay, can we look at
Yeah, absolutely.
residents being
But
able
we
to
will
buy
need a date, we'll
10
have to
promo
date it.
and be at home? That way they don't have to wait for their guests here, then come up here to get a guest pass and then be able to use it and have to do that every day if their guests are staying with them for 5 days.
That would be a problem, the mechanics of that would be a problem because guest passes are dated.
I can write a date on my guest pass just as easily as anybody else, and if the date's not on there,
That's-
clear orders in the room, please.
Those are issued by the business office or the guards, and they are dated by.
But that's something we can look at. Yes.
Is the ad hoc committee willing to look at, what Dan is raising of being able to, figure out a way of allowing residents to buy guest passes, for their, future use, in advance? And I'm just asking if you're willing to look at it.
Yes, I keep looking to the ladies that do this every day. So Tosh, let me, if I may, get the actual people that handle this on a regular basis.
Sorry, actually in your rules and regs doc, and this is boring stuff to me, however, it was caught. There is a component in here of issuance. No guest badge will be issued in advance of guest arrival. So that's in your rules and regs docs. If you would like to change that, it would go before the entire membership approval.
So it can be changed. Okay.
The rules and regs would have to propose a change to the membership to change that.
Okay, we'll work on that. That's all the questions I have currently.
I have a question for Dave and Ginger, and I don't know if Terry Blankenship is here. I haven't seen him. Hey, Terry. I want to know if within the next 30 days before this is implemented on July 1st, approximately 30 days,
Maybe implemented.
if it is implemented during that 30-day period between now and July 1st, would the ad hoc committee entertain a reduced weekly guest pass for residents, the same as you have for the clubs, where instead of a resident who has a visitor for 7 days, that instead of them paying $35, I'm not giving you the figure, I'm just making a suggestion, that they can buy a 7-day guest pass for their visitors, say at $20. Would you be willing to entertain that if the board approves this increase in fees?
Sure.
I certainly would. I just also want, may I?
Yeah.
Mention, clearly, we have people that are not assuming in favor. No one likes fees to increase ever, and we certainly don't want to be the bad guy by offering them. But the board has specifically asked us to review options and come up with ideas to offset the inevitable increases that are happening in all of your fees. These two areas specifically were non-Kings Point residents. We understand there may be grandchildren and friends and house guests that are impacted, but that's where we started. They processed over 15,400 guest passes last year. So we are more than happy to try and, like you said, do bulk, if you can control it. What you may not realize is on any given day, the ladies at the desk will have somebody come in and say, I bought this guest pass, but it rained, can I get my money back? Or they're coming this day, or it changed. So whatever we come up with, it has to be functional and doable, so it doesn't become more of a headache for you all to keep coming in and refund, or try to get a refund. They don't give refunds if it rains, by the way, because we can't ever get into that world, because that would just be, I'd have to have a dedicated person alone in the office just to do that. And by the way, this 15,400 number is down thousands of guest passes from prior years because, of course, COVID and there was less guests and things like that. we typically go far above 18,000 passes per year. And those are just the people that are coming in buying passes. Our guards tell us every day, people are out at the pool hoping they don't get caught, or they're, somehow, or they have a pass that's outdated, et cetera. So it is definitely not a perfect system. We're just trying to offset some of the costs of what these folks use when they're in the facilities. They use the soap and the toilet paper, and they sit on the lounge chairs, and people come in and say, all the guests are out there, I have no place to sit. So it's a proposal, that's all. And we're trying to see what we can do to offset some of your increases across the board, because the entire community subsidizes the guests. So that was a long answer to that, but we can try to do anything as long as it's something that the team can keep up with on a reasonable basis and be fair about it.
Now, yes. Since this came out, obviously, I'm sure I'm not the only one on the board that's been barraged by phone calls and comments. And I would also like the ad hoc committee to take a look at the process of having the club presidents be responsible for this. I think there's a better way of doing it. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I don't know if it's the people have to go to the business office and pay their $5 and get a pass from the business office. I'm not sure, but I really truly believe that leaving it up to the club presidents is not the best way to go about this.
If you're familiar with the Rules and Regulations Committee bylaws in AC1, and also
David, excuse me for interrupting. Could we not have private conversations going on while the board is discussing this?
Anyway, if you're familiar with those documents and the bylaws that are associated with the operation of the amenities, it's beyond the scope of the RFEC and the board as to how the policies are implemented. And so the mechanics of what goes on is under the control of VESTA. And they will work through the process to optimize, keep costs down in there. You have to understand it, if we start getting too complicated with these things, the overheads will grow and we're not going to gain anything by it. So you'd have to look at the documents to see what the authorization, what the scope of responsibility is.
Point in a question. I actually think it should be the club owners, club president's responsibility, or the treasurer, or whatever. They know who the roster is, they know who their people are, they know who's coming outside. Just my thought.
Okay.
I do have a question.
All right, can I just add to yours before you
Sure.
run? Currently, there are sanctioned clubs and there are non-sanctioned, what I'm gonna call groups. The sanctioned clubs have rosters of all their members. They have rosters of who is a member, who is not a resident, and who is a member of a resident. They are required to do reports to VESTA and the Land Trust of their sanctioned club. They have certain requirements of filing forms and membership forms. They are probably more prepared or better prepared because they keep the roster of their members of who are inside and who are outside of Kings Point. It is suggested within the Rules and Regs Association documents that a club be made up of 75% residents and 25% non-residents if you were going to have non-residents. So when you're looking at clubs, we're looking at sanctioned clubs that basically have not paid for attendance of their non-resident club members, but of the different clubs we have, generally it should be less than 25% of non-residents that utilize the amenities within Kings Point. So, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that when we're talking about
the club presidents and stuff getting the passes, we're talking about the sanctioned clubs within.
And my other question, one of the comments that I saw repeatedly and that I've had approached to me is, oh my God, it doubled. But it hasn't increased in 7 years. So to me, the only other alternative is we raise the price every year a little bit. We're still gonna end up at the same. If we only raised it, if in 2015 we decided, okay, well, we're gonna raise it 50 cents, by today we would be more than $5. So then, and then in 10 years we'll be significantly more than that. I would think, like, how do you determine how frequently to look at the guest pass price increase, or how frequently should we be looking at that so that people aren't concerned with a sticker shock? I know the prices have gone up. I'm based on what I understand, based on the presentations that I've seen and what I've read. Y'all came up with this because this is basically what each of us who live here and decided to live here and buy in here and understand what our cost structure is here. We decided we wanted to be here. And and we're willing to pay $5 a day to enjoy the billiard rooms, the pickleball courts, the tennis courts, the lawn bowling, the shuffleboard, the library, the culinary room, the fitness rooms, the classes, and the pools. The Vixens focus on the pools, but it's way more than that. So at what point do we review this so that and I'm guessing that the point of this is that we don't expect that people who chose not to live here get to enjoy the things that we subsidize for less than what we pay. But how frequently should we be looking at that?
Well, personally, I think every 2 years would be appropriate. But you have to be careful with the $5 a day is a pretty solid number based on the budget. And also, if you look at individual association budgets, approximately $145 that you're contributing to the operation of amenities. If you break that down on a 30-day basis, you come pretty close to what the number of the budget is. So it's a pretty solid number, but it can't really, let's say in 2 years we're going to increase it by 33 cents, okay? Not a good thing because of the overhead involved. You've got a guard standing there and make it change, you know. And so from a practical standpoint, it should be reviewed. Do we increase it by, you know, well, let's say 50 cents would be maybe a reasonable increase, or $1 maybe a reasonable increase. But I wouldn't split hairs on that, okay?
Well, when you look at the $5, if you increase it $1, it's only what, 20%, as opposed to now everybody's looking at it and it's, oh my God, it's double.
Yeah, but 20%.
But it's still dollars.
20% on a 2-year basis is really a big number.
One comment to the board is, as Steve Knott has just joined us, I asked him a question the other day. Steve comes to Kings Point from a golf course community in Lakeland. I wouldn't consider it a really high-end. It is a moderate golf course, and I asked them if they charged their golf community guest pass fees to use their amenities. His golf cart, the golf course community that he used, I asked him what the fee was. His fee is, their fee is $15 a day for a guest to use the golf club community pool. This $5 is a third of what other people are charging. As you know, they opened the lagoon down the road. To go to that lagoon, I believe, and I may have been wrong when I read it, I think it's like $50 a day to go to that lagoon. For people who have guests, this is discussion, but for people who have guests in the community, whether you charge them $2.50 or you charge them $5, compare that to driving to Clearwater Beach and paying for parking of $16 or more. It becomes a rather inexpensive option. And the question comes, where is the equitability?
The pool holds how many, the Southwood pools holds how many people? 200 people? 200 out of 5,595 homes. The North Club pool holds, maybe 250. So out of the 500 people that may use a pool during a given day, you're asking a guest to pay a fee.
Right.
Instead of the other residents in the community, all 5,595 units subsidizing that. The residents enjoy the pool being heated to 80-some degrees, which there's a cost for gas for it. The furniture out there doesn't last forever, and I can tell one of the things that is being done is the replacement of the chairs when they do the entire pool. Ginger or Victoria, before you leave? Victoria? The cost for the chairs in South Club Pool for replacing them because they are getting worn out is in excess, I think, and I may be wrong, but in excess of like $90,000. Is that correct?
It depends on how many chairs you purchase, but depending on chairs, it ranges from $250 to $450 a chair for a replacement cost.
So if you were to replace all those, we're talking close to $100,000. You want to talk about the gas, you want to talk about the electricity, you want to talk about everything, whether it's at the pool or whether it's in the building, whether it's using billiards. There is a cost associated. We haven't even discussed labor costs. Labor costs are going up. And the question becomes, and one of the reasons the board has basically said to Vesta in the past is we need to look at increasing our revenue and decreasing our costs and increasing your employees' productivity. One of the reasons is today, you are the bank, as residents, you are the bank that is paying for everything. When we need to resurface, and I will tell you, the South Club Pool is going to be closed this year. It is for the resurfacing of that pool. Not every resident uses that pool, but you bring in guests, it adds to the wear and tear within the community of the cost. And it's trying to develop an equitable basis. Matt shared with me earlier this week an email he received from a previous Federation board president that said when she was president, she attempted to raise it. This was back in 2018, early 2019. I'm not going to mention her name because I don't have the authority to mention her name, but she voiced to Matt her full support because she wanted to raise it back then but couldn't get the support. There comes a time, and this has nothing to do, in my opinion, with the CA or the issues across the street. They run their community, we run our community, and we cannot continue to have the residents of this community subsidize, and we are a resort community. It's why people moved here. Yet everybody should not subsidize those of a few. I think if you took and asked how many of the 5,595 homes out there, how many had guests and how many had guests use the pool, I think you would not find it a majority of people have guests coming in. You can't expect people, everybody's complaining about their fees going up. When this was done, Ginger was talking about how we reduce it $1 a day, $1 per unit per month to $1.50 per unit per month. Someone has to pay for these facilities. Nobody in this room, I believe, was around in 2007, and if you were, you can raise your hand. Did you all approve the land trust document that says, with the loan, that these facilities must be maintained and must be kept current? I mean, we've heard, why are the hallways being replaced? The hallways are being replaced because the tiles are popping.
It is a safety hazard. We must maintain, people say, well, we're wasting money in redoing the hall or refurbishing or painting and doing things like this. We are required by the trust documents and by our loan to do these particular aspects of things. It's what the people agree to in the community. Every year, the RFEC has a responsibility of looking at that budget and going through the budget and says, what do we really have to do in this community? It isn't Vesta's opinion. It isn't the RFEC's opinion. A study is done every year or every 3 years, Ginger, basically that says, when is the time to replace, what needs to be repaired, and they publish a booklet that's quite thick that of lifespan, the same as your individual association says, how long is my roof going to last? And building up reserves for that. How long is before I paint my house? That is how it is determined how much money and what is done with the amenities, whether it's resurfacing a pickleball court, building a new lawn bowling court. I mean, it's really nice. I know there's not probably a lot of lawn bowlers here. You have a brand new lawn bowling court that was out there that was built in the last couple of years. The residents, not the lawn bowling court, the residents spent $70,000 to build that new lawn bowling court. Anybody can use it. Pickleball courts, we're gonna have to build more pickleball courts as the community goes on. Somebody's gonna have to pay for it. And it's basically looking and saying, the residents pay for it, but if you are a user and you are a guest in the community, you should contribute to it. And that is one of the bases that we looked at Vesta earlier, or late last year, earlier this year, and said, you've got to come up with ways of producing revenue for this community. And I congratulate Matt, because I know Matt has been working very hard on figuring out how to bring in revenues. You folks cannot continue to bear the burden with your monthly assessments, because sooner or later, the monthly assessments are going to override what mortgages are for some of the people who buy it.
Jack, I have a question, because I'm not as familiar with the Roberts rules in the process. At this point, do we ask the question, do we take comments, what do we do?
In discussion, the audience has a right to add to our discussion. One thing I would ask, you, Vicki, would you be willing to amend your motion to require the ad hoc committee who proposed this to come back to us for our July meeting with a possible reduced weekly rate for residents who are bringing in guests?
My only real concern with that is, that's for the club pass, not for the clubs, but for the actual guest pass.
That's the actual guest pass for residents who have guests. If they have guests that come in a week, instead of paying $5 a day, that perhaps if we can give clubs a reduced rate, we should be able to give the residents who have or need of a weekly pass for 4 or 5 guests that they may have during that week, a reduced fee. I'm only asking that they come back with a proposal for that.
Right, so my only concern with that is that anything less than what they're proposing is still less than what the residents are paying.
Okay.
So if we're trying to help, I mean, I hear from everybody, I'm on a fixed income, Even though I gotta tell you, when I worked for a company, I was on a fixed income. I couldn't go to my boss and say, hey, I'd like to join this resort, can you pay me more this year? They would say no. So I don't know who isn't on a fixed income. So I'm concerned about reducing it less than what the residents are contributing. So,
Vicki, I know that you have done some, don't put your mic down. I know you have done some research for individuals who stay at hotels.
Yeah, I actually have that up.
Of what the cost they charge for the use, it's called a resort fee.
Right, so what I have here, it ranges anywhere, the cheapest I saw was $12 to use just a pool. And then I saw nothing less than 20. Hotel Alba, which I've never heard of, charges $30 for a day pass to use their pool. They charge $750 if you want a meeting room, by the way. So if you want to have a club meeting there, that would be crappy. Let's see what else. The Epicurean in Tampa charges $75
That's just.
for the day,
That's
just to use the pool.
That is basically their resort fee they tack on to, or charge separately onto.
If you're not staying at their hotel and you want to use their pool, that's what they charge you. If you want a deal, you can go to Hilton Tampa downtown, and if you look at their pool, it's pretty dinky. But their day pass starts at $12.
So,
I know, but this is what you would pay if you chose not to pay the guest pass here. And you said, well, I'm just not gonna bring my guest here. I'm gonna take them somewhere else to enjoy a nice resort pool. That is what you would pay. And if you chose to go to the beach, I usually go to Caddy's at Treasure Island when I go, because they have the restaurant there. But just to park there for the day is $16 plus what it costs for gas. So these are just the costs that we would pay if we didn't live or use the facilities.
wait, when the board is finished with discussion, we will open it up to you. Ray, do you have any additional comments, concerns? Shirley? Dan? Ray? Okay, Vicki? We'll open it to the floor. Remember, your comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Oh, boy.
Hey, I'm only following the rules that have been set for years. I would only ask that if someone has already made your point, don't stand up and remake the same point again. We don't need to stay here till 5 o'clock tonight. There are a number of people that want to talk. You have 3 minutes for discussion. Once you are done, the board will then vote on the motion that we have on the floor. The mic is yours. If you want me to call the names, you people just want to line up, you can
Signed in.
If 30 people speak for 3 minutes, we'll be here an extra hour and a half. So please be respectful of your neighbors.
That's why we signed up.
We signed up on the list when we walked in.
Yeah. We don't get any time to speak.
Anybody has a right to speak. The list is all exactly the same. Whether you stand up and speak or whether you signed up to speak, you still have the opportunity and the right to speak.
All right, are we ready? Basically, I only have 3 minutes, but I do my.
Could you advise us your name and the association you're from?
All right, first of all, I'm Bill Humes. I'm a 26-year resident. I've seen 3 builders, and I've seen transitions from 3 builders. I've owned 3 homes. I'm a landlord. I'm a tenant. I was a snowbird. I came here in 1996. The impact is a quality of life impact, not an economic impact. I think that you'll find out that by the time we've done our discussion, that there should have been a social impact and not an economic impact that ran this particular situation. The effects are a further division between Kings Point, Sun City, and our guests. And you can take the gold card at Sun City as a catastrophe that helped. They were trying to raise $30,000. If you look at their budget this year, the gold card's worth $7,000 to them. It's resulted in a loss of club dues, loss of club memberships, and a loss of activity quality because the reduced cost of guests and outside visitors has resulted in the quality of the bands, the number of people from the outside that supported the dancing, the athletics, the card clubs, the small social groups, and so forth that enjoyed our community. It's an isolation of residents with few visitors. There are many people in here that of various ages that have very few visitors, and yet they may have a friend across the street that comes over and sits at the Nantucket pool with them and kibitz for, every day. The extra cost of managing this proposal had never been taken into consideration. There's more regulation of our lives, not less, and less is more these days. I recommend vote no on the proposal. If the proposal is taken into consideration seriously, there ought to be a rescind proposal be approved, and it's not worth 2 cents per household. And you'll find that 2 cents per household is a valid number in terms of the value of what we're really talking about. Our $5 includes other things
Your
than
3
just
minutes, sir.
recreational.
Sir, your 3 minutes is up.
All right, thank you, that's all I have.
Can I just have 1 second? Mr. Humes, what association are you in?
Well, I am the Masterpiece and also have a rental in Fairfield.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Margaret Rogers. I represent Cambridge B. I also represent the Thursday Sunday Bingo and the Monday Bunko. I'm asking the board not to approve this 100% increase of non-resident fees in the proposal with the special discounts for area residents outside of Kings Point. I'm not against a fee being charged to non-residents, but it should be equal for everyone. No special discounts should be given to the area non-residents unless the same discount is given to the owners of Kings Point. Here's an example. Thursday Sunday Bingo participants are here twice a week. That's about 100 days a year. Under this proposal, the person paying the $75 fee will only pay 75 cents a day to use these amenities. Compared to if I bring the guest here for the bingo, it's $5 per day. And if I bring a family of 4 for a week, it's $100 and no discounts. This is not equal or fair, and the goal under the proposal is to offset the cost of the additional person using the amenities. Each person should then pay the same amount because the cost for each of the amenities is the same. Why should the resident owners pay more for their visitors than an area non-resident would pay when using the discounted fees as proposed? This is discrimination. The estimated benefit of $1 to $1.50 per unit per month is not worth it. In the proposal, the discounted fees for area non-residents are supposed to be collected and monitored by the volunteers. I can tell you that none of our volunteers will collect fees or participate with or monitor the participants. We're volunteers, and we don't want to be employees of Vesta. The Thursday Sunday Bingo and the Monday Bunko will have no choice but to limit the participants to Kings Point residents only. This decision will also reduce the revenue of the cafe and the North Clubhouse because on these days, there's approximately 50 to 60 non-residents participating using the cafe. I would like to suggest that the minimal fee be collected from everyone who is a non-resident. This will bring in more revenue than giving special discounts to those outside of Kings Point. Since the reason for increasing the fees was to offset costs, this would treat Kings Point resident owners and area non-residents equally. This proposal did not benefit the Kings Point residents. They got no discounts. Please give this careful consideration and give the benefits to the people that live here that you're responsible for.
Martin Fossey from Maplewood. I think one of the things that the Golden Card did over there was reduce the expertise that they had on a lot of these clubs. I personally did website, I did the sound at times, and I played in the band for the Front Porch Pickers. Basically, they lost me at that $125 fee. And what you're looking at is a fee for every club that you're talking about joining. I mean, that's going to start a pissing contest between the two. I mean, you can't be in more than one club and pay all this stuff. It's ridiculous. A lot of people, when they get guests come in, you got grandchildren coming in, who pays the price? We do. So you're charging us for having family come. So I think the whole thing is a big mess, and I'd rather spend the extra $1 a day or $1.50 a day and keep things the way they are.
My name is Martin Lamper. I'm in Nantucket 3. I'm not going to repeat what they said because they've already said it in an eloquent way, and you heard them, okay? I will summarize what they're saying. I will summarize what they are saying. Using Newton's third law of physics, for every action or inaction, there are multiple opposite and unequal chain reactions. Look at the chain reactions. You have a model across the street. You're penalizing people here because if my grandkids come down for a week, it's $80. It's $80 for 4 of them. If you are the impression from the way you guys were talking, it literally sounds like you made the decision. This is a formality. But it's already been approved is how I interpret it, and so many others here has happened, which makes this thing a sham, if true. I'm not saying it's true, but if true, okay? You're creating a division. There are people here who have unbelievable amounts of money in our community. There's a large number who can barely make it now. Already we know that our prices are going to be going up anyway because everything is. Wait till everybody gets their insurance for their cars again. You're going to see another rise. You cannot do this to this. The lady did a beautiful job of showing the discrimination on the dollars. I'd rather pay $1 or more a month in dues to make it. And my last point is, I can understand you wanting to raise the facility fees for golfing and for the pools. Whether none of us come to a meeting here, the overhead in this room is exactly the same. We don't need to charge for the clubs and for everything else. The athletic facilities, yes, I can understand the athletic facilities, but everything else should not be on the table for raising anything. And if you're going to do it, which my feeling is you probably are, if you're going to implement it, then get a bulk card, and how you administer it, it's a punch card. You go to a pool, you buy 30 days, and all they do is punch it until the card is used up. That would be a way to do it. Again, the sports facilities, yes. Rooms and clubs like this, definitely not.
I'm Rick Swenson. I'm on Grantham Greens. I'm president of the Pelican Players Board of Directors, and it's Pelican Players Sanctioned Club that I want to speak about with these charges. At present, we charge our members $10 per year. Our members put in a ton of hours to make sure that we put on quality productions. With the changes that, and I would agree with what the last gentleman just said, it seems like this is already a foregone conclusion. With the changes that would be taking place, I can now tell our members that live across the street that they still do not get paid for the many hours that they've put in to put on quality performances, but their dues just went from $10 to $85 a year. Please think seriously about this. I will also say that across the street, and I know you said this is not in answer to what they did, etc., but across the street, they do not charge that $125 if the club is a 501c3 club. So if you are going to implement this, we as a 501c3 nonprofit request the same exemption that they give over there.
Hi, my name is Mary Philpott from Gloucester P. I think we kind of have two different issues here. I think we need to have the clubs looked at separately from the recreational facilities. And just a few days ago, I emailed Brittany, who then forwarded my email to both Matthew and Mr. Davidson. My idea was days 1 through 4, $5 a day. Days 5 through 7, let's give them a 2-day discount and do $25 a week thereafter. So it would be $50 for 2 weeks, $75 for 3 weeks, and $100 for 30 days. It was a way to give residents some kind of lower rate, or still pay an increase, but give them 2 days for every week that they purchase. So I hope you had a chance to look at that email and may consider that. But I do agree, we do need to start charging, but I also think clubs have to be treated separately. Thank you.
I'm Rich Resnick from Manchester 4. I'm going to take a contrarian point of view here. I think, just to remind people of what they're already seeing, you see your grocery bills, you see what you're paying. Most of us don't have electric cars to fill up your gas tank. Inflation's running over 8%, and next year's fees are going to be set around before Thanksgiving. Really, I think they get pretty well hammered out and 80%, 90% finalized by the beginning of November. So we got half a year done already with 8% inflation. We know we've got insurance going up. I think it will be the rare association around here that does not see another $40 to $50 increase next April. Any way we can raise some money from other sources to eat away a little bit of that. And I recognize it's just a little. It's not going to be a lot this month. But we have to keep looking for ideas. We have to do what we can so that it's not $50, $60 year by year by year by year. Inflation may come down the second half of the year, it may not, but half the year from our perspective and from what you're going to pay next April is already done. So it's not coming down much. I would not only, the other thing that I would add is that almost anywhere else you go, there's a member fee and a non-member fee. And usually the non-member fee is higher. And we're essentially members for Kings Point Amenities. So, my personal opinion is that this may not go far enough. We probably need a little bit more on the non-member side. I don't see this as retaliation for what happened across the street. I understand some do, but I see this as simple dollars and cents.
Hi, my name is Carol Frank, and I live in Portsmouth, which I'm the president. I also have served on the board for 10 years and lived here 11 years, so I'm very active in my community. I also belong to 2 clubs. The Apple Club, which is only for Kings Point residents, and the Mahjong Club, which we have one lady that comes from across the street, a little old lady who will not come back, I'm sure. So I work for both clubs, and I'm the president, or the secretary of one and the vice president of the other. So I figure I'm paying my share and contributing to Kings Point, because clubs are very attractive in bringing new people in. And if we didn't have clubs, we wouldn't have as much going on. So I figure I'm paying more than my $5 a day by contributing. I do have a family that doesn't come very often, but when they do, I pay their fees. So that's extra money for me to pay. I think Vesta needs to fix their security. There's a lot of people that come in here and they pay nothing. And we've all seen it happen. We see them walk through with other people to the pool, and we see them come to dances, and the people that put the ring band on don't pay attention after a while because, oh yeah, that's a familiar face. Sure, let me put a band on you. If they'd take care of some of that, we wouldn't need to charge extra fees for our people who live here. And as far as the restaurants, if you're going to not charge for a guest fee for the restaurants, then do we get a discount? No, they're not charging for the restaurants, for the bars, because that's money for them. And if you're going to charge a guest fee, charge for the restaurants too. That's all I have.
Ma'am, I would just like to correct you. The food and bar revenue is not Vesta's revenue, it's the community's revenue. Vesta does not receive one dime from any food or drinks that are sold.
My name is Tom Mackar. I live in Fairborn now. I'm on the board of directors, former president of Highgate B when we lived there. I got this email, and the very first thing that was sent out was in the interest of transparency. Transparency is very nice, but I only got this a week ago, okay, as did everyone else. If there was transparency, where was the resident input survey? Because I've listed at least a dozen really good ideas, including one my wife has told me for years about giving bulk tickets and letting the homeowner fill out those passes themselves, okay? Residents need input. I'm on the board of directors of the softball club across the street, okay? We survey everything, okay? We want to find out what our players want, and we've got about 120 players, that's all. On the one section where you said all passes and badges of those 16 and older, users under 16 don't need them, must be accompanied by a resident when using the facilities. How about if you change that to an adult with a daily pass? When you get your kids that come down with the grandkids who come down, why should I have to sit at the pool with the grandkids when mom and dad are going to be there with them anyway? Okay? So I would like to see that changed in your vote if you vote today. Second, you have the fees that are per club. Across the street, Sun City Center 2020 voted $125. That's what I pay to play softball. At that time, Sun City Center had over 1,500 Kings Point club members. Right now, there are 70 club members, with the majority of them being softball players because we don't have any other field to play on. Okay, so we went from 1,500 across the street back down to 70. Is the idea of raising the fees strictly money? Are you trying to encourage people to come here? Are you trying to maintain the people who come here and we get their money? Or are you trying to discourage them from coming at all? It seems like discouraging when you put a per club fee. Who's going to join 4 or 5 clubs? For $125 across the street, you can be in as many clubs as will take you. Also, when people talk about different clubs, you have to look at what the clubs are. Are they social clubs, activity clubs, service clubs, recreational clubs? Are they fundraising organizations, and that's why they exist? Or are they competitive sport? And you have to look at those because some should not have to pay the money. They got hit hard across the street because they passed it too soon, and then they had to make all kinds of changes in it. I personally don't think you're ready to vote today because of just the things that have come up. I would table this, and I would table it till the fall when we have more people here. You said this is the biggest group you ever had. Okay, well, I sure found out why. That's a long meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Sue Haryu, and I'm from Nantucket One. I have a few things that I'd like to bring up. One is, why wasn't this brought to everyone's attention, including residents and board members of each respective association, according to your own bylaws, not less than 10 days prior? Each member who are the association presidents should have the right to vote on this. This affects every single resident in this Kings Point. And there's no reason that just a few people, these people on the board today, vote and are supposed to be representing all of us. There's a lot of really good points that have been brought up today. One of the other things I wanted to bring up is Vesta increased the price of using the propane gas tank out by the gazebo from $5 to $15 per use. Now, our association has monthly dinners. There is no way in heck that we use the entire propane tank. So you know that tank is being used more than once on a fill. So Vesta is getting anywhere from $15 to probably $60 out of one tank use. Now I think that to triple that is ridiculous.
Could you keep your comments to the issue and the
I
motion
am.
on the floor?
This is all part
Because the
of.
propane tank has nothing to do.
No, but it's one thing that's been, another thing
I
that's
only
been
asked
voted
you-
on, and please let me speak. I have
only
my
asked
3
you-
minutes.
I only asked you to
I have
maintain
3
the
minutes to
motion.
speak and you're interrupting me.
I'm interrupting you to maintain.
Your last rules changes were done in January of 2014. The fees changes were last done in 2015. I think that this should have been brought to the board presidents, the association presidents.
Steve Nicholson, live in Inverness. I am the president of the Kings Point Archery Club. I don't have a list with me, I'm gonna be very quick. The Archery Club shoots behind the Garden Club, which is on Master Association property. Will this affect our club or not? It will not? Thank you, I'm done.
Tom Roach, Oxford 2. The question I have is why now? That's my first question. Why now? Just 2 months ago, we all received a pretty significant increase in maintenance fees. We're all dealing with inflation that we haven't seen for years. My understanding when I moved here 7 years ago was that the purpose of these fees was not only a little bit of revenue, but to keep other people from other neighborhoods coming in and using our facilities without paying for it. I can understand the small fee. This $5 fee, it's a 500% increase in the last 7 years since I've been here. I don't understand what the additional expenses incurred when I have a guest and my guest comes and sits next to me at the pool or comes into the bar and goes to karaoke. They're not costing us any more money. All they're really doing is spending money. Because every time a guest comes in, they spend money. They spend a lot of money on food and beverage, mostly on court. It doesn't make sense to me that we're going to, at this point in time, ask our residents for additional funds. If I have my kids come in, my 2 kids come in for a week, and they bring their significant others, that's $140 that aren't paying. They're not paying. If the guest doesn't pay it, we pay it because they're our guests. So on top of the fees that we've already just received, I don't understand it. These are the questions I'm getting from my friends and neighbors. And I also thought we need more money. That's fine. This past Saturday, as an example, it's a beautiful sunny day. We had rain in the morning, and the outdoor pool was closed. The bar was closed. The cafe was the outside bar. Don't understand why. That's a source of revenue, and we see that too often. We also saw many times this week nobody collecting any guest passes up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, if we do better at collecting the guest passes that we should have, we'd have more money. We open the bar when it should be open, and we'll have more money. And we'll do more parties like they did on Monday, where we saw lines for food and beverage, snaking through the pool area. That was a great event. Whoever did that, thank you for that. But do more of that. Don't nickel and dime the residents of Kings Point, $5 here, $5, just because they bring their family in to swim for a day or go to karaoke. It doesn't make sense to me.
Dan Page, treasurer of Andover Tea. As treasurer, it's difficult to get people involved. I've been involved with a lot of clubs here. It's very difficult to get anyone to do anything. Every club I belong to, I did work. Now, my granddaughters will be 16 June 15th. How are you going to police this? If I bring them in, I say, well, they're 14. You're going to ask them for an ID? A lot of kids 16 don't have driver's license. They have no identification to prove their age. When I have people come in, I get a day pass for the days we use the pool. If I got a week's pass for $35 and we use it one day, okay, it's not inconvenient to come in and get a pass per day. If it's raining, we choose to do something else. I've never bought a week's pass. And I think what you're doing here, you're hurting every club. The clubs that I still belong to, no one wants to do anything. I said at the ICE, I do a lot of work there. No one wants to do anything. Now you're saying, well, we want to penalize you more.
Well, my name is Edmund Durante, and I reside in Highgate 3. I'm also the Secretary and Treasurer of the Kings Point Archery Club and the Vice President of the Kings Point Sportsman's Club. I first want to thank the board, Vesta, RFEC, and the ad hoc committee for the hard work we've done on this. You guys are between a rock and a hard place, and it's not an easy task. Having said that, I want to talk mainly about the impact to the clubs. So much has already been said. I want to thank the people who have contributed some excellent ideas and comments. When club members join, they join for a year. And now we're telling them, well, guess what? You're only going to get 6 months. That violates our agreement with the members, our contract with them, and that's not really equitable or fair, in my opinion. Also, it's already been mentioned about the club's responsibility to collect fees and then remit them to the office. There are clubs where they come in and out, like the Pottery Club, and they may, it's by fee. We don't have any provision on how we're going to staff or pay that job function. I don't think that's particularly fair. Ginger's already pointed out the 15,400 guest passes, so I'm not going to talk about that. But we talked about Sun City's Gold Card across the street, and they tried to raise about $30,000 and had 1,800 the softball gentlemen members from across the street. Their 2022 budget is for $7,000. That equates to 56 people subscribing to the Kings Point card. We cannot expect anything different than somewhere in the 50 numbers. At $56, 56 people subscribing to the maximum $75 card, that's going to generate $4,200 annually. Based on our 5,500 residents, that's a little low. That generates 6.4 cents a month, or 76 cents a year, to cause this kind of disruption. I candidly don't really care about 6.4 cents a month. I don't think most people do. There's no provision if this thing turns out to be flawed. to rescind this rule. And that should be in there, it should be a trip. If this thing's not working, let's not follow the folly of across the street. They seem to have dug their heels in. If they look at their minutes, they bring this up kind of regularly to reconsider it, and it's like they just lost 4-3 to review it again. So they're beginning to think that's not a great deal. And so in closing, my family and I have lived here. Maybe my family, I came along later, obviously. My parents were older. They've lived there since 1975. We came here, and I now live here to enjoy leisure activities with friends, having a stress-free, conflict-free environment in which to do it. These proposed fees, especially on our clubs, destroy that. It creates animosity within the rest of our Sun City community. It degrades the quality of our lives. So I respectfully urge the board to decline this proposal, especially the club surcharges. Thank you.
How do you follow that? John Barry, Secretary of Kings Point Sportsman's Club. We were established in March 15, 2010. Currently have 518 members. 142 are non-KP residents. We're registered with the Florida Department of State and the IRS as a 501c nonprofit social club. We're in compliance with Vesta's annual requirements for sanctioned clubs in Kings Point. We meet once a month in the theater and average over 100 members in attendance. Our annual dues are only $7 a year, and we offer our members that. And what we offer our members for that price is why we have a large membership. We have a 30-page website that provides information about club activities as well as businesses that offer discounts to our members. Our monthly guest speakers from all walks of life provide informational educational presentations to our members. Last month's speaker was County Commissioner Mariella Smith, who did a presentation on Tampa Bay Ferry Project that will operate from Apollo Beach in the near future. Our club made donations to the Sun City Center Emergency Squad, My Warriors Place, and Fish Hawk Youth Shooters, just to name a few. Our large membership makes this all possible. To charge our non-resident members $5 each month that they come sit in the theater for an hour will have a negative impact on our membership, as it did clubs in SCC. Hopefully your proposal is not already a done deal, and you'll table it so you run town hall meetings within the community when the snowbirds are back to get feedback from all residents who would like to have a say in this. Thank you for your time.
Jimmy Sophia, Corinne. Let's not do that like what Sun City Center did there, which they pushed something through. They pushed something through in the summertime where they didn't have a full population. That's number one. Number two, why don't we, this is democracy, this is not a dictatorship, why don't we have the residents of all Kings Point vote on whether this should proposal should go through or not? Not just the board. Okay, now, you can do this when everybody's here, that the association president takes a survey of the association, and they let majority rule on whether this gets passed or not. Because the way I see it, it's very unfair. $18 a year is what a person would save. It's not worth it. Why should you penalize the residents, not only of Kings Point, but people that want to come in here and join the clubs? That's what I have to say. I hope that you guys do not approve this today. I would recommend get a vote from the Kings Point residents. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dick Bishop. I'm on the board of the Kings Point Radio Club. My prepared remarks have been covered by multiple people, but I want to emphasize the social aspect of our community and our clubs and the value that our visitors and our guests bring. They bring skills and education and project work. It's really amazing what we gain by having guests come in. When we all bought in here, we agreed to the agreement that our fees will pay for the maintenance. It's far cheaper to pay an extra $1 a month per unit or $1.50 or whatever it costs. It gives Vesta a known amount of monies to plan their expenditures and meet their costs and their budgets. You can't depend on these fees that we're proposing and the administration cost of keeping up and collecting fees and who paid and who didn't. It's just a growing animal. So the simplest way is to continue the way the developer made it. Put the fees in, meet the cost, and make these other things as equitable. But I didn't sign up for or ask for some relief so that when my grandkids come, they use the pool, I have to pay anyway. So you're not really putting it on outsiders, these guests that come in and use the facilities. It's the residents. Just put it in our fees. There's a number of people that probably are against $1 a month, but I would think the majority of our residents would far simplify the whole system by paying that extra $1 and eliminate all this restraint on our quality of life here. Thank you.
Good morning, Jane Norton, Nantucket 2. For those that know me, don't fall over, this is not about the money. Okay. My question is I'm hearing all morning that there was a proposal made with the Rules Association. The Rules Association is made up of 3 board members. From what I can find, there has not been an annual meeting of the Rules Association since 2019. They are run for 2-year terms. It's a 3-member board. So technically, the 2 members that the people in Kings Point get to elect, we don't even have those 2 members representing us on that Rules Association. The president has been vacant, and the vice president was appointed or somewhere between 2019 now, if it's a 2-year term, that term is up. So the only person we have is the board-appointed position on the Rules Association. This is the only time that the members of this community get to vote on the rules of how our amenities are handled. That is my concern. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Judy Fenwick, my husband George Fenwick. We both lived here for many years. George was here in what, 1985. And I moved in 94. My parents lived down here in 74. I've seen tremendous growth in this community. And up until this point, it's all been good. But as members, we run a peanut club. It's very informal. We only have a few members from across the street, and we have discussed this with them, and they have indicated that they are really not in favor of their gold card. And they have 4 new board members that were voted in so that they would not have that gold card. When these when the old board members get voted out, they will not have that gold card. Within, I would say, 6 months to a year, they will not have that gold card. And I don't think we want to retaliate. You say it's not a retaliation, but in our eyes it is.
Could you stick your comments to the motion that's on the floor, not the CA?
The motion that's on the floor, I would say, I would address the board and say, first of all, I thank you for your volunteer service. But I think when you are volunteering, you need to listen to your membership. We are the membership. And as everybody indicated, we would like a vote.
It all comes down to one thing, our zip code. The zip code for Sun City Center is 33573. Not Kings Point 33573, it's Sun City Center
33573. Let all of our people come in for a day of cards or whatever and not have to pay it, and not make us to be volunteers for keeping the appointments and giving the money back to Vesta or whoever, because we are not accountants to give the money back. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any further comments, discussion from the board?
Yeah, well, I'm on. Can you hear me? I do have a couple questions. First of all, logistically, collecting this fee from the clubs.
Can't hear you.
Collecting this fee, how would that, we have some logistics, obviously, that would need to be worked out. And my next thing is, and it was brought up, you do have a situation where you have some of the organizations that are 501c3s, which I work with one, and how that would be handled, because the situation is such that you may not be able to legally charge those fees.
Charging the club the fee.
No,
but the club is not being charged the fee.
I understand, but if the club has is working in here and sets up its thing, how are you gonna handle some of that? That's all I'm just asking.
I don't have an answer. I mean, as far as the logistics of the collections right now, what happens is and correct me if I'm wrong, Tosh, the business office reaches out to the presidents of all the clubs. It was June 1st when that start date happened, and they said, you know, they send out a letter, let us know who all your members are. We don't know who the members are. We've got 45 clubs listed on this roster here, of which about 29 have non-Kings Point members. So we would have to go to the clubs and find out who the people are that are non-Kings Point residents that are utilizing the club. The idea was that those people, the representatives of the clubs, would then collect the fee from the non-Kings Point members and just deliver it to the business office. If that is something that is desired not to do, then it would be individual non-Kings Point members coming in paying their fee if the board chooses to approve this one by one. But again, we have no idea who's in the clubs or who's utilizing them. We have to have participation from the club leadership because we don't know who those people are.
Do you have their names on the computer?
Can I say something? Because I'm a Pelican player, which is what one of the Rick was saying.
Fundraiser.
Can I come to the mic and say something?
Fundraiser, remember that.
The Pelican Players, for one, okay, is a non-profit group. And what we do is we bring in entertainment, okay, for not only the city center, but outside as well.
I'm aware of that.
So now, we have members, actors, as well as people that contribute their time and energy, building sets, removing it, all that's involved in theater to put on a production. You're going to then charge those people outside that give their time and energy, okay, which is not a club to have fun in, okay, which is a club to provide entertainment for the community.
We're following you. I understand that. Trust me. I know what you're explaining, and I think everyone else does here. I did have one other question. Do we have an idea of how many people are in multiple clubs?
52.
That's the other thing I wanted to.
52 people. 52 people.
They're telling me 52 people. How many just have 2 clubs?
It's gotta be more than that. It's gotta be more than that.
1,050 belong to one club.
52 belong to 2 clubs, and 9 belong to 3 clubs.
Okay, and I want everyone to remember too, we're separating for clubs, but there's also the guest passes thing. So this is a two-tier thing. So let's not confuse the two.
I am Rosemary Berger, and I live in Bedford, Maine. My husband and I have a dance. My husband and I have a dance club, and it's a club because we were told we can't be a group because of having a dance every month. Dancers are unique, just like archery and bowling and everybody else. But we have members who come in from other areas who love to dance, and that's our purpose, is dance and have fun. I belong to 2 different dance clubs, and I attend other dances too. I'm not one of the 52 people that she has counted. Because I know that the other dance club who isn't represented here today due to their vacation has like hundreds of members. And I know she's got more than that.
We're gonna close down the floor after you speak, because I asked earlier if there were any more comments, the answer was no. So after you speak, I'm closing the floor. Meeting is running long as we figured it would, so.
Thank you. I'm going to make a request of this board because of the divisions that's already appearing here in Kings Point. I'm requesting that this board absolutely do not make any decision until you get together all your facts, all your figures, and actual proposal, okay? Because obviously, just the way you're talking, that you have questioned yourselves and the like. Don't set members of our community against each other by taking a vote. Do what you feel you need to do. Wait till the snowbirds come back, then bring this up again and get a reaction and see how the community really feels.
Dan, did you have a comment?
I do. I'm a new member of this board. I've been on 3 days over 2 months. I ran to see where we could reduce costs. And I've listened to every one of the people that have talked here. And I think almost everyone that talked here is a member of a club. I'm a member of a club. The vast majority of the people, not vast, but the majority of the people in this community, my understanding, are not members of clubs, and they don't use these facilities. And I'm not sure in my mind why they should be subsidizing non-members members of clubs that are not members of our community. It seems fair to me that people that don't live here should help pay for what we all have to pay for. And we all pay $5 a day for all practical purposes, whether we use it or not. So a majority of the people that live here are paying $5 a day for everybody in this room that does use things, and they're stuck with that. And that's the way it operates here. But they shouldn't be stuck with paying for people that don't live here. That's my opinion. And I am going to do everything I can to reduce the fees here. And if it's only $1.50 a month, that's the first thing we're reducing. I want to see reductions in other things through the year. I hope we can, I'm on, the one committee I'm on this board is on insurance, along with the other rate. I don't know that we're going to be able to reduce that. We haven't, that process hasn't started this coming year. But there are ways to reduce the costs. I hope we look at them all there, as well as any other committee that here should be looking to reduce costs.
Thank you. We have a request to call the question from a board member, from Mr. Ricketts, who is on the phone. Correct, Tom? Tom? Tom, you want the question called? Mr. Ricketts? You can. Okay. No, I don't have you muted. I was just waiting, but okay. Yes,
Hello.
Okay.
Based on all the questions from you folks and from a fair number of the board, I would like to amend the motion to table this for today.
not an amendment. Yes, you make the motion to table.
I'm sorry, yes, I'm making a motion to table this until we have more membership and the snowbirds are back, maybe September. But I think there's enough confusion and questions from the membership and members of the board to not vote on this today.
I believe that because the question was called by board member Ricketts, that your motion is out of order. I can't. I mean, unless you ask Tom to withdraw his calling of the question. Tom, you want to withdraw your calling of the question? So Tom has withdrawn it, so there is okay. So there is a motion on the floor. Now, if you table the motion under Robert's Rules of Orders, the motion is killed. The whole issue is dead. If you postpone the motion, you have to give me a specific date. And by the way, just so you folks know, and I know you have asked, can the membership vote on this? The answer is no. And the reason is, it's part of the land trust requirement. We must follow the land trust. This is a land trust issue. It is not a federation issue. It is a land trust issue.
Does anything prevent a survey, Jack?
No, surveys can be done.
Survey away then.
It is not, this is not a proposal done by the board. This is a proposal done by Vesta, the rules and regs, and the RFEC. Those are you spoke. Because they brought the proposal to the Federation Board, who has to vote on it. Because we oversee the land trust.
And you can listen to the membership. We have spoken to the membership. Instead of coming up with a foregone conclusion.
You are assuming that it's a foregone conclusion, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, let me try this. I would like to move, because the motion's dead, correct? No. Okay. I would like to amend my motion. No. Oh, it hasn't been seconded, so I can't amend it. Okay. So I want to move that, hopefully I'm doing this right, that this is tabled for today, postponed. I'm still learning. Postponed by the board, voting on the board. In addition, I would like that postponement to be until October 1st. And I would like, in the meantime, for Vesta to send out a survey to the community.
And it's October 7th, if you want.
I'm sorry, October 7th.
What's the difference between the first and the second? I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion to postpone until October 7th? Then I will call the question. Would you do the roll call on the question?
President Davidson?
Vice President Ricketts.
Mr. Ricketts?
Secretary Martucci, yes. Treasurer Hunsaker.
Yes.
Director Barnell.
Yes.
Director Gundry. Director Hector. Director Ryan.
Yes.
Director Shaw.
Yes, to postpone. No, it's not.
Okay, we vote yes.
Motion carried unanimously. The proposal is postponed until October 1st. Then,
Jack, I'd like to thank you very much for running a really good meeting in a very tough decision. You did a really good job. You really-
thank you. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?